Okay, well, today we have some more great stories about Jesus, and these stories just tell us more about how wonderful and amazing He is. And they're found in the Gospels. Now, here's the first one. Now, the Sea of Galilee was a big blue lake, and Jesus liked to walk by the lake. And when He walked by the lake with His disciples, He would talk to them and teach them things. Now, one day, Jesus taught a huge crowd. He taught the crowd all day long. And it was sunset. It was the end of the day, and the sun was about to go down. And He told His disciples, let's go to the other side of the lake. So they got in the boat that was there, and they started to sail. And as they did, well, Jesus might have been tired from teaching all day because He went to sleep in the boat. Can you see Jesus asleep right there in the boat? And suddenly, big wind came, fierce wind, made a lot of waves that splashed water into the boat. And the disciples probably had to take the sail down, or else sailboats would tip over in a really strong wind. And the waves just kept splashing more and more water into the boat, and the boat filled up with water. And the boat was about to sink. So the disciples, they thought they were going to drown, so they shouted at Jesus, and they said, Jesus, wake up, we're going to drown. And Jesus opened His eyes, and He saw the wild waves, and He felt the fierce wind, and He saw that the boat was almost full of water. But He was not afraid. He stood right up in the boat, and He talked to the roaring wind and waves, and He said, peace, be still. And just like that, it stopped. The waves stopped, the wind stopped, and it all became calm. The disciples, wow, they looked at each other. Wait a minute, Jesus looked at His disciples and said, why are you so afraid? Don't you know you can trust me? Now what did Jesus say?
He said that they would get to the other side of the river.
He said, don't you know you can trust me? He said, don't be afraid. And the disciples, they looked at each other. They were so amazed. They said, what kind of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey Him? No one else but Jesus could stop the wind and the waves like that. And our Bible words today are the words that the disciples said. Can we read them? Can you see that?
Even the wind and the sea obey Him. Mark 4:41.
Okay, so Jesus said He was the Son of God. And He told people that He came from God. And then He showed them that was so by doing many wonderful things, like making the sea and the wind be quiet. He also showed them by healing the sick. Even death obeyed Him. Now, when we get sick, do we go see a doctor?
Yes.
Yes. Phoebe, does the doctor make us well? No. The doctor can give us medicine, but only God can make a sick person well. The Bible tells us about a little girl just like you two, who was very, very sick. There was a man named Jairus who had a little girl, and she was so very sick she might die. So Jairus went and found where Jesus was. And he went and knelt down, and he said, Jesus, please come to my house. My little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be made well and live. So Jesus went with Jairus to his home. And as they were going along the way, some men stopped them and said, Jairus, don't bother Jesus. Your daughter is dead. And Jesus said, don't be afraid. Just believe. Now, Chloe, what did Jesus say?
Jesus said, don't be afraid, just believe.
That's right. So He went. Jesus and His friends came into the house, and what were the people doing?
They're crying.
They're crying because the little girl had died. And Jesus said, "What is all this noise? The little girl is asleep." And you know what the people did? They laughed at Jesus because they knew she was dead. But Jesus went to the little girl's room and stood by her bed, and he took her by the hand and he said, "Little girl, get up." And she did. She got right out of bed. She was alive again. Her parents were happy and amazed because Jesus made a dead girl live. So, Jesus controlled the wind and the sea. He has power over sickness and death. Jesus did many miracles to show people that God had sent him. What do you think he wanted the people to do, Phoebe?
They wanted them to believe in him.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And remember, what did Jesus tell the disciples in the boat when they were so afraid? What did he tell them?
They says,
"Just trust in me." And what did he tell Jairus? When they said his daughter was dead, what did Jesus say?
"Believe."
Don't be afraid, just believe. Good. Okay, now these stories, what do these stories tell us?
They tell us that Jesus can do many wonderful things.
Jesus can do many wonderful things. Phoebe, what about you? What do these stories tell you?
They tell us that Jesus these stories.
Do they tell you that God is great? Do they tell you that God is mighty? Do they tell you that God can do anything? This is your song, isn't it? Both of you. Are you going to come sing your song? Because this is the perfect song for our lesson today.
My God is so great, so strong and so mighty. There's nothing like God cannot do. He has power over death and sin. My God is so great, power to give me strength within. My God is so great, power beyond what I can see. My God is so great, my God can do anything.
My God is so great, so strong and mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.